Hello and welcome. I know I made a live yesterday, but when things progress, I want to share. Yesterday, tried to install Linux on a board, which is the board which is there based on Allwinner D1. And I failed. So I thought, is my board okay or is it not functioning? So after the live I made a few tests and I thought my board was dead and I thought that my SD card was dead, and I used this other board, which happens to be the same one in a different shade of pink, SD card, which worked on this one. So definitely that was not the board which was not working. Then I made a clone of the working board SD card on this one, and it worked also. Then I tried lots of other distros that didn't start on this board. So said the only thing I have left to try is the original distro that is running on my other D1 board with 564. So that's why I did yesterday night. I reinstalled. Unfortunately, it's a desktop version, with lots of packages I really don't need, and it slows down the board. But well, the board started on this 64 GB SD card, and all went fine. So what I propose you today is to do the very same thing, and this time live. What could go wrong? So first of all, let's install the SD card into the SD card reader and writer. Okay, there we go. Now let's launch Belina. There you go, Belina. So now I will flash from the file from last December, which is this one, Armbian 2208 Jammy Current 6.1.0 XFCE desktop. It works, so let's go. Let's flash it. So white writing. So I have my USB-C hub linked there, so that it's got Ethernet, and I have my HDMI, mini HDMI cable plugged in into my capture card, that if ever something is displaying, we should see it. Hopefully. Let me tell you a few things about the rest of things we'll have to do during the live. So I told you about this board, but I didn't tell you about why this board and why this contraption. This thing is called Minigen, as you have guessed. It will be the thing I will put on display while at the FOSDEM Jenkins booth. So it's just a quick Jenkins instance with one controller, the big board, and 3 agents of different architectures, CPU architectures. So the controller will be Arch64. This board we'll try today is a RISC-V 64. Then we'll have another Arch64, but as an agent, and the one which is missing is an ARM32, which is somewhere in my mess, which will also be an agent. Now that you know what it is, yesterday so I presented the 3D print and the insert. I unboxed the Pine 64 Pine Power. I tried to install Linux on the MQ Pro, which failed. And today, so we'll install the board, hopefully, as a Jenkins agent on an existing Arch 64 controller. I've got controller in the room next to me where I have already a few agents. Most of them are shut down today. I just have one RISC-V running, which happens to be this one, and we'll use the existing configuration to copy to the new one if we make it with installation of the Linux distro, of course. So we'll install Linux, then create a Jenkins user on this board. Then we'll try to remove a few packages that we don't need. You know, the one for the desktop, for example. It's not the extensive list, but I'll remove the ones I think of. Then I'll install OpenJDK 17, and then I will install builds from Temurin, which are OpenJDK 19 and 20. And in the end, if all goes fine, we'll attach the machine to the existing Jenkins controller and we will run the first job on it. So almost the end of the flashing process. Life is too short to wait for the verification, you know, so just after the flashing I'll say it's okay. It's live after all. Got it. No validation, please. That will be fine. Hopefully. Done. The flash is completed. Let me remove the SD card from the writer and put it back into our Mango Pi MQ Pro based on the Allwinner D1. Okay, nice. Now let's find the right cable. So USB-C cable for the power. It's not yet using the Pine power. Okay, so if ever that works, we should see something on the capture card. But the very first boot is kind of slow because the board system Armbian looks at the size of the SD card. It's a 64 gigabyte SD card, so it will create partitions on the whole. Oh, it's booting, as you can see. That's so cool. Yeah, that got me excited. Sorry. But yeah, it will take time because the big partitions will have to be created. So yeah, that will take some time. As I was saying yesterday, most of the time what you have to do is just plug a USB keyboard and type the information you are asked, like the first user, credentials, the Wi-Fi network and so on. But the thing is, I don't have USB keyboard anymore. So we'll have to do it through SSH after some time. So the first thing I will do is have a look at my router and see if any new board is appearing. Not for the time being. It's way too small for me to read, but I guess this is a moment where Armbian is creating the partitions. Gosh, it's so small. I know the board is not powerful and the GPU is not a crazy one, but it can do 4K without sweating. So that's maybe 4K, I don't know. Let me check what the tool tells me. Oh, there it is. So, no, it's even not 4K for the time being. My tool says it's 2160 and 30 frames per second. So it's 2K, I guess. And it's not X, it's a frame buffer. So, anyhow. And of course, it's also ambient. It's not an official distribution. It's a CSC, so community supported configuration, which means it's not official for ambient. There is no support. Only Bulbous 150 who does all the hard work. And it's even not aimed at that very board. His work is aimed at a board called Niza, which happens to have most of the same hardware, and I guess that's why it's working. Okay, I still can't read. It's still too small. Oh, it's a login. Okay, root automatic login. So no X for the time being. I guess the system will ask for some more information before creating the desktop. I think there is also an option at one time which says, oh, if you cancel now, you won't get the desktop installed. Now, let's go back to the router and have a look at the machines. Do I have a new machine, a new IP address? Yeah, cool. What is this? .34. So it's maybe not ready yet. Let's wait a little bit. I do hope we won't get stuck. On the other side, I can see on the Campro that the board is asking me for a password, but I don't have any keyboard. Nice. So SSH has finished. Oh no, what is the password? Oh, it's 1234. The first time you log into the machine, and I got it wrong. We're in. That's cool. So I have to create a new password for root. Bash, please. Username. Put on. What if? Because yeah, I have some stupid ideas, and I continuously spend the day saying, "What if?" I plug this into that, and yeah. Europe, Paris, cool. Yeah. Oh, why? I should have kept the English. Anyhow. You can always reconfigure the locals later on. Why is generating the locales, which takes some time, more of let's have a look. So do we have an X environment yet? No. No, we don't. The first time I started this distro on the other board, I had wonderful looking wallpaper, very modern, very unique, very RISC-V. But man, this board was struggling with keeping up with, you know, the huge resolution and even the graphics in general. You know, you only have one core and 1 GB of memory. Oh, now starting desktop environment. Let's have a look at that. Even if we'll get rid of it sooner or later. Something's happening. Yes, you're struggling. That's perfectly normal. Will I really wait, or will I get rid of the X packages before seeing anything showing? I don't know. We want a server. We don't want a desktop. Okay, too long for me. Let's go back. Laptop. Now, I have to find back my old command because I've done that on the other one, which will remove the packages that we don't need anymore. So this one, why not? No need to use sudo, root. I found some other packages to remove. I'll do that just after. Oh, while I'm removing all of that, the desktop has finished loading. We don't have the image I was referring to, but yet we got the mouse and the environment. Too bad we can't see the background image. So what else could we get rid of? These ones. These ones. Oh, I think I already wrote them, but this will be okay. If you ever know a correct way to get rid of a desktop installed on Ubuntu, please let me know in the comments so that I learn from you, because I'm not happy with the way I dealt with that. This doesn't look pretty. I would have loved to just install a server version of the Armian distro, but that did not work for me on that board. So once we will have finished with getting rid of the packages we don't need, I'll do a apt update, and then a dist upgrade, and then I install OpenJDK 17. Did I say the machine was not fast? It's not. And it's even not using Wi-Fi for timing, only Ethernet. It would have been way worse with with Wi-Fi. And I don't think you can see it clearly. Where is it, by the way? Yeah, just there. There is a plug for the Wi-Fi antenna, and it's even not plugged in, so I guess it's not as fast as it could be. And on my first board I tried to install the antenna but never managed to fit the plug-in, so never worked for me. But the Wi-Fi works with not so good performances because of that, I guess. Important. So still lots of things to do, but I'm thinking out loud. So I was kind of surprised when I found out that Ubuntu was supplying already OpenJDK build 17 for the RISC-V 64 architecture, and wow, I was super happy discovering that. Say, oh, I won't have to compile it by myself, and discover that it doesn't work. That's a nice way to bootstrap, you know. But then I realized that what it is, it's a 0 VM, which means that the code is interpreted. It's never, you know, compiled, hotspot, no JIT, no things like that. So it's slow as hell. But it does exist, which is pretty cool. And we'll see in a few minutes that we have some alternatives. I can already talk about that now. Tamarin offers some RISC-V 64 builds of OpenJDK 17, no, not 17, 19 and 20. And these versions are with the hotspot, so they are much more fast than the 0 VM. I saw on which forum was that? Yeah, the Sci-Fi forum, speaking of the Sci-Fi Vision 2 board, which is also a RISC-V board, then the difference of performance between the 0 VM supplied by Ubuntu and the Tamarin hotspot was 4x to 8x faster. You know, it's amazing. So we'll install the OpenJDK 0 VM 17, then just to bootstrap the thing, you know, but it's even not mandatory. I could get rid of that. And then I grab binaries from Tamarin for OpenJDK 19 and 20. The thing is, these are not official releases. These are nightly builds, so it changes several times a week, sometimes several times a day. But I have a Jenkins job that will search for the latest nightlies and install them just about every day, just in case. And of course, we know that JDK 19 will soon die. It's done its time. So the last build I got from Timorin for RISC 564 is from last October, and I don't think they planned on releasing another release nightly build of the RISC 564 OpenJDK 19, because it doesn't make sense at the end of it. But we should find OpenJDK 20 binaries just about every day. Now, so we are done with cleaning up the packages, almost. Yeah. Before forgetting, I may very well change the name of the machine, ask her to broadcast it on the network so that the other machines know how she's called. Why do I say she? It. You got it. Get to love these machines. Maybe that's why. So there is a nice utility in Armbian which is called Armbian config. And we will launch that. It will allow us to change the host name, to connect to the local Wi-Fi, and you can do also lots of other things, but for today we only do these two things. It would have been way quicker without having a desktop installed, don't you think? Okay, no signal, of course. I've just broken everything. At least you've got music to wait. I even don't hear it, you know, so you're the only one to hear it. We're approaching. I even don't know if I will install OpenJDK 17 at all. I don't think we need it. And I have tried with the other boards earlier. Jenkins does work with my Tamarin nightly builds of OpenJDK 19 and 20. Never ever use 17, or do I? Maybe I have some jobs where JDK 17 is still written, configured in the Jenkins job, so I don't know. Okay, we're done. Now, hostname. That's what we're looking for. So, as I told you earlier, the build is for a board called Nisa, but it happens to work on that MQ Pro board. So I'm gonna change the name to this one. And later on I will log out, that's perfect with me. Now, what could I do? Wireless, yes, let's go this way. Wi-Fi. Looks like it worked. That's cool. What else did I want to do? Oh, yes, Avahi. Maybe there? I can't remember where it's located. Not there. Network, maybe. Why can't I see that? Language, hostname, person. Okay. I can't find it today. We'll do that later on. No hurry, no worry. Now, yeah, let's create the Jenkins user. So, add user Jenkins. Nothing special for that user. There we go. We now have another user, and I will do something not super pretty, but I've used that in the past. I know that's not the right way to do things, but I'll do it nonetheless. If you know how to do it better, please let me know in the comments. Okay. Now, let's install OpenJDK 17 just in case I still had some jobs which need JDK 17. We'll see that later on, maybe. Yeah, we'll upgrade them later on. Now let's find the correct name of the package I want to install. apt cache search, of course. So I'll take this one. Let's go. I could maybe open another. I don't know if it will be strong enough to stay there, but. Machine is struggling. So what is the address that we'll use? So the 34 is for Ethernet and the 199 is for the Wi-Fi. So now let's transform myself into the Jenkins. Now I have to find, while it's downloading the official OpenJDK 17, we'll have to find the other versions of the JDK I want to install. So as I told you before, Tamarin delivers some nightly binaries of the JDK 24, the RISC-V 64 architecture, and we'll grab one. Most of the time the RISC-V image is available as in the list of assets of the release, but sometimes it's just not there because the build with Jenkins, by the way, just failed, for example. So let's install it. So what is one I could use? So JDK 20, RISC-64, Linux hotspot, so I don't want the debug image. And I don't want the GRE, I will take the JDK. So I will copy the address. So it's not finished yet. Let's do it at the same time. So. There we go. We're downloading the OpenJDK 20 at the same time as installing the official JDK 17, which is the 0 VM. Now, the problem I have is that for the JDK 19, there are no regular releases, as I told you earlier, because it's end of life. So I have to dig into the Tamarin builds, which are done with Jenkins, and find the correct last supplied OpenJDK build. So it would be this one, so not the debug image, not the GRE, just the RISC-64. Oh. So I will copy the link. So not installed yet, and this one isn't finished either. We just have to wait. Poor little machine. And I even don't have any heatsink on it, so I think it's getting hot. Not so much, as you can see, 48 degrees for the time being. The Java is still installing. Did we get back any display? Not yet. I think we would have to reboot in order to see anything. So Java has finished, Java 17 has finished installing. I could do maybe while I'm here. Yeah, okay. And while we're doing that, let's check the JDK 20. Yeah, it's finished. So now I have to download the JDK 19. Oopsie. So, wrong address. Open JDK 19. Where is it? There you go. Ta-da. Okay. So the machine is updating, upgrading. What I like with RISC-V, for the timing, RISC-V 64, is that almost everything is available right now. When I started with ARM years ago, 2015, 16, you had to recompile lots of things, you know, lots of packages were missing, but it looks like distro maintainers, package maintainers are much more involved in RISC-V, or maybe it's just, you know, adding RISC-V 64 somewhere in the configuration files and automatically everything starts to work. I don't know, but it's way more comfortable than what we used to have with the ARM ecosystem, which is not really the case anymore. You know, most of the time it works with ARM 64. Not always with ARM 32, but anyhow. So the update is going well, and the download of the OpenJDK 19 by Timrin is going well also. Cool, it's done. Now, let's start with the OpenJDK 19 unpacking. Oh, something I didn't tell you yet is that for these builds you need a recent version of the libc. If you don't have it, you're kind of stuck. I think you may find somewhere static linked versions of the OpenJDK, but if you want to use a dynamic version, you have to make sure that your libc is 2.35 or more recent. Woohoo! So let's check that. I think I'm just right at 2.35. There you go. Cool. Now let's do that with OpenJDK 20. Okay. Now let's check if the machine has finished upgrading. Not yet. Okay. But that's not really a problem. Now, let's make some symbolic links for my Jenkins jobs. That will prove handy. There we go. Okay, we have JDK 19 and JDK 20. Now back to the Jenkins controller. As you can see, I've got the built-in node, I've got an Orange Pi 0 which is not connected, the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus which is not connected either, and I've got a RISC-V which happens to be this machine. So what I'm gonna do is to create a new node and based on the RISC-V which is existing. So I'm gonna call it RISC-V 64 GB, which is because that's the size of the SD card, and I will base that on the RISC-V existing node. So of course I've got one thing to change. It's this, if I'm not mistaken. I will give the IP address of the VLAN, which of the WLAN, the Wi-Fi. So 199. Cool. And oh, I forgot to add the keys, of course. So let me copy the keys which are already configured in my Jenkins controller. That my controller will contact this machine through SSH with this key. No need to use a password. Okay, the copy of the key just worked. So we've got the IP, the key. Everything should go smoothly. Let's see the logs. So the authentication is successful, which is pretty cool. So it's the right IP address. Now, the machine is pretty busy for the time being, but yes, 100% of CPU, a fair amount of memory. We'll see. So what did it find? So checking Java version in the past, it found the OpenJDK 17, which is a 0 VM. Boo! Put it there. It's a nice way to start working with Java on RISC-V 64. Now it can't find my JDK 20. Okay, of course the path is not correct because I used an hyphen. I shouldn't have used an hyphen. Okay, maybe that will be better the next time. So the channel is started. Sounds pretty cool. The remoting has been launched. That's cool. Let's have a look at htop just in case I could see some Java running. Not yet. But yet the machine is suffering with the upgrade of the packages. I could have waited just a little bit, but anyhow. Now, let's make a try. So the RISC file, which is there, I'm going to... Okay, it's offline. For whatever reason. Oh, I disconnected by myself. Okay. That's cool. So let's try a specific RISC-V project which doesn't do much. So I've got already one which is pending because it says that all nodes of labeled RISC-V are not available. Node is still being launched. Okay, that's why. It's not marked as available for the time being. Still doing some things. Of course, I'm upgrading packages at the same time as launching a Jenkins agent. That's Audacity. So can we see any errors? Not for the time being. The channel started. Morting version, SSH launcher. This is a Unix agent. Yes, indeed. So I guess we'll have to wait a little bit of time before it's marked as available for real. I could maybe get rid of PHP. I don't need that in that machine. Poor little machine, I'm asking too much, I guess. Yeah, timeout, of course. Yeah, it was maybe not the best idea I ever had to upgrade the machine's packages at the same time as starting the Jenkins agent. But it will recover in one way or another. Is it marked as working or not? Maybe I can see that one build has started. Okay, already. Let's try a simple one. Did it start? Okay, so as you can see, it's specific for risk because of the label I chose, and it's already building on the machine that we just installed. Boy, this machine is struggling. Yes, definitely load average at 5.43. Well, yeah, it's suffering. It will work after some time, you know, once the package upgrade will be finished. I think the machine will be doing fine. And the job is almost finished. The only thing I was asking is this very simple job is to issue the command uname -a, which tells us that it's a Linux machine. Its name is MQ Jenkins Agent 2, running at kernel 6.1.0 RC3, specific for the D1 SOC, and that it's a RISC 564 GNU Linux. I think we're good. The goal of this live was to install the Jenkins agent on the small RISC 564 machine, and as it's written there, it's a success. That's cool. Now that we're happy with that, what could be the next steps for the next live? We've got all the boards to install, of course, so this one is working. I think my next victim will be this one, which happens to be some kind of a sister of this one. It's the same form factor, the same color, the same manufacturer, and it's an Arch64 board. It's called the MQ Quad from MangoPie. So I think that's it. Next live will be about the MangoPie MQ Quad installed for Jenkins agent. Thanks a lot for your attention if you're still there, and see you next.